Okay, I'm going to try this Q&A for the first time because I wasn't able to find a guest for today's interview series because our previous guest had to cancel for unforeseen circumstances. So I thought, hi Elise, I thought I would try to do this. You guys have supported our family for so long, and you've been so kind in supporting me in this new journey on how to handle Hazel's pages and kind of, oh, thank you, Elle. But yeah, how to handle Hazel's pages and know how to kind of move forward. So I thought I would jump on and do a Q&A and interact with you guys a little bit more and just say thank you so much, first of all. And then also, get any questions answered that you guys might have. Oh, thank you. Someone said I looked really pretty. Hi, Lindsay. I know you're here too. So let's see. I wonder if there is a function. Okay, yeah, there is a thing. There is a question function. The comments might start moving pretty fast. So if I don't get to your question, maybe try clicking the little question button and it can send to me. Oh, thank you. Love my glasses. I love them too. I don't know if you can see, but they're like sparkly. It's too hard to see. But anyway, so I hope this is okay. Again, I still don't know the balance for Hazel's pages moving forward. I feel like God gave me and Hazel something to say, and I want to continue to share her message, but at the same time, because she's not here, it's been really hard to know how to proceed with her pages. Sometimes it can hurt because I'm posting photos, which I only have a limited collection of. Like, that's what her life is summed up by, is the small collection of photographs and videos that I have of her. And of course of the memories and the things that I hold dear in my heart. But so sometimes like seeing her pages still active with her name and everything has brought some struggle for me. But at the same time, I also felt like God gave me and Hazel a purpose, and I don't want to not follow in that, and I want to honor her legacy. So it's just been kind of a weird balance to figure out how to do this page, but also still be building things that are just my own, that are separate from Hazel, but knowing that a lot of those of you who have walked that journey are still on that journey with me. So I hope that this is okay. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, like, put them in the comments, and I'd love to just kind of see where your guys' heads are at. How are you guys doing in the COVID quarantine? Where are you doing the quarantine? How has it been for your family? We've been blessed. We've been able to keep working, and we have lots of friends and family who haven't been able to work, and it's been such a challenge for them. And it's even been a challenge for us, and we still have a paycheck coming in. And I think the biggest challenge has been readjusting to a new normal, which our family is not, it's not new to us, adjusting to a new normal. But I just felt like we were finally adjusting to the new normal without Hazel. And this whole virus thing happened, and it's made it a bit challenging for our family. We're all a little tired, but we're hanging in there. Hi, Eliana. But yeah, how is it for you guys? I'd love to hear from you. Okay, we've got a couple questions. Let's see here. Oh, Armani Raybon 20. Hazel was so inspiring. Thank you. And Jen, you had pizza for our family last year. That's awesome. Armani is asking what my favorite color is. Okay, well, I love blue, like a Tiffany blue, but I think if this was Hazel answering, she would always say rainbow. So I'm trying to kind of look at the world like that my favorite color is rainbow. So maybe I'll do that. Hazel was so inspiring. Thank you so much. I know she was so inspiring to me, and I try to live like her every single day. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ari Silverdawn. Thank you. I know I'm trying to honor her. I'm doing the best that I can. And, I want to make sure that I never cross any lines and ever make you guys feel like I'm using Hazel's pages for any personal gain, because I am trying to build upon things that have happened throughout Hazel's journey and throughout my journey, because I was really young. I I was 20 when I started having kids, and when Hazel got sick, what was that, 7 years ago? So I was in my mid-20s, and I was still kind of figuring out who I was, and I didn't really have the time to find out what I was good at, what I was passionate about, what kind of woman I wanted to be. I knew who I was as a teenager. I knew who I was as a wife. I knew who I was as a mom. I knew who I was as a caregiver. And I really started to find a lot of myself throughout Hazel's journey, like through advocacy or through planning fundraisers. And I didn't realize I was on a journey along Hazel. And now I feel like I'm trying to build upon that and stand in my purpose. And it's hard because I don't ever want you guys to think that I'm using this for any personal gain, but I do feel like this is such a big part of my story too. So I don't know. It's weird. Okay. Oh, thank you so much. Looking back right now and have so many memories of Hazel being here playing with Lindsay and Ashley. And Lindsay says, my favorite memory is doing makeup with Hazel. I love doing makeup with Hazel too. And she was something else, that girl. Okay, I've got a couple more questions, it looks like. All right. It says, I would love to hear updates about Hazel's siblings and your family in general on this page. How are they handling the loss? Oh, that's such a good question. Thank you for asking that. I'm going to pull it back up so you guys can see it. Yeah, I'm really glad you asked. I never know how much to share about the siblings either, being as this was a Hazel's cancel page, or Hazel's cancer page. Gosh, I can't even talk today. I'm so tired, you guys. But yeah, it's been different for all the kids. My oldest, Micah, he is now 13 and he is 6 feet tall. He's taller than me. I look up to him, and he's probably been the one that struggled the most because he was older and really understood, and he really saw a lot. I mean, if you guys think about it, Hazel had treatment over the course of 5 years. So that was her entire childhood, but it was also her brothers and sisters' entire childhood. That's all they've known. And, Micah has lived through a lot, more than a lot of even adults have lived through. So it definitely took a toll on him. And he started middle school just a couple months after she passed. So that also was a huge transition for him. But I feel like he's starting to process the grief more and talking about it. The other kids have all been really good about talking and communicating and keeping Hazel a part of our family. My next oldest is Elizabeth, and she's now 11, and she's finishing out 5th grade, which I cannot believe. And she's the one that definitely feels the deepest in our family. Like, she just feels for people, and she really misses her sister. They shared a room. But she also has faith, and she trusts that Hazel is still with her. And just like Hazel did for us, I feel like the kids are showing such resiliency, and they're showing such beautiful responses to this thing in life that we all are going to have to face, which is losing a loved one, or ourselves crossing, into a different life. And they, like Hazel, have figured out a way to still be kids in the midst of such grief, and they just astound me, just like Hazel did. And I'm learning from them every single day. Jonah, he's now Hazel's age, he's 7, and that's been interesting to see because they were so close, and it's been interesting to see him behave so similarly to her at the age that she was when she passed away. And sometimes that's painful, but sometimes I can hear her in his laugh or in the little funny faces that he makes. And he I think could grow up and be like a therapist, because he really likes talking things through, and he likes to talk about Hazel and the loss and what it means to our family. And like, he'll pray at dinner sometimes, and he'll just say the sweetest things because he's so full of love, that boy. And then Zoe, she is going to be 6 in July. She's 5. She's finishing out kindergarten. And, she was 3 when Hazel passed. And so a lot of her memories are being formed through watching old videos, and she just can't get enough of it. And she'll tell me things about how she misses Hazel sleeping in their room and how she misses her laugh and her silly face. But I think, she's still forming her impression of Hazel. And I hope that she can continue to feel Hazel with her, so that even though she was so young, she'll feel like she really got to know her. But they're all doing okay. But thanks for asking that question. That was a really great question. It's the small things that help us through the forest. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Jen, is that your name? Jen J. Robb. Yeah, that's the thing that I've been practicing these last 2 years. I've been doing all sorts of therapies to get through. I had some major PTSD, obviously you guys have been following along, and major grief that I've been holding, and holding everybody else's grief too. And it's been a challenge, but it is those small things that helps me see the forest through the trees. And I'm trying every day. Not every day is successful, but that's what makes me human, and I'm just trying to do my best to be present and to remind myself that Hazel is not gone, and that I can continue to live a life that honors her, and that the kids can still be close to her. And, like I said, it hasn't been easy, but it has been those small things, the little laughs the kids do, or the cards they leave me, or the little gestures of love, and the things we end up giggling about, or, a sign from Hazel. Those are the things that definitely help. Gracie, they're so resilient. I know. All right, so I think, Armani said she always had the beautiful smile on her face. Thank you so much. Yeah, I know. Oh, happy Mother's Day. That's right. This Sunday is Mother's Day, and I have mixed feelings about it, being a bereaved mom. Some Mother's Days these past 2 years, some of the day I feel like I just want to put a blanket over my head and not face anything, because it's just a constant reminder that somebody's missing. But at the same time, like, I just know how much she loved me, and I know I have special things in my office that were written from her or made for me by her, and I don't want to let my grief control the situation with my other kids. And so I don't want to miss out on all of the love that's still being showered on me. And it's been so sweet, because they've all been planning something. They've been cooking something up the last couple days, and I had to sit in the other room, and we had to, and I had to like plug my ears while they planned something, because we can't leave the house, and they're so excited. And so I'm looking forward to that. And each year gets a little bit easier. But then some days, like, it's weird, like, as things get easier, sometimes other things get harder. And I think I've just learned, something I've learned extensively through therapy, is that I am feeling joy and sadness simultaneously. I can feel, fear and feel powerful at the same time. Like, all of these emotions that have come up, they happen at the same time, and it's not mutually exclusive anymore. And maybe that's just the human experience in general, but it's been very heightened since losing Hazel. And I think that's the thing I'm trying to learn how to balance and how to accept. Radwa, I see that you're watching. If you want to jump on, I would love to have you. But I also know that if you can't because things are crazy, totally understand. But in the meantime, I'm just answering some questions. And yeah, but anyway, so anybody else have any questions? What about anything that has to do with what we've been doing during the quarantine, or any personal projects that I've been working on? And, oh, I see. Okay, I got a text. Okay. Yeah, if you guys want to know more about the personal stuff that I'm working on, you can follow at the Lauren Kelley. That's my personal Instagram, or my professional Instagram page. And I'd love it if you guys followed along. I've been working on a book for Hazel, and about our story, but also about kind of my journey. And I've also been writing some articles, and I've been hosting things, and like trying to just kind of find my place in the world. And I feel most at home when I'm communicating with other humans. So this has been really great for me. Okay, so I got another question here. It says, do you have any tattoos dedicated to Hazel? Yes, I have. I have one tattoo. I don't know if you can, well, here, you can stand up. So this is the tattoo I got after Hazel passed away. This is a sparrow, and they're a symbol of coming home. And then these flowers here are etched from her grave site on the stone that we have. These are the flowers that border it, and so I wanted to put those there. And then obviously I have her name. And then this tattoo is one I got when she relapsed. our family clung to the Bible verse, hope is the anchor of the soul. And so I got this anchor with a childhood cancer ribbon, and then the name of, or the initials of all the kids. And then I have a hazelnut right there in the middle. So yes, I have those tattoos in honor of Hazel. And honestly, there's been other ideas I've had too. But this one with the bird and stuff has been the most meaningful. And it's so nice to look at it all the time and be reminded that it's like she's kind of always with me right there. And okay, there we go. All right, let me see if there's any other questions here. Not in the question box, but yeah. So anyway, what I was saying before was I'd love for you guys to join me over on the professional page, and you can kind of see all the things I've been doing. And again, it's been so much. I didn't believe that this was a part of my journey with Hazel, and I didn't know that this would happen, but I am beginning to find more of who I am through being her mom, and through being my kid's mom, and through navigating grief, and through navigating watching your child go through something for 5 years that was so hard, but also becoming an advocate and watching how incredible your child is and how brave they are and how strong they are. And I've really learned so much about myself, and I lost myself for a while. You know, I've had many days, many weeks even, where I would look in the mirror and I didn't even recognize my own face. And that's something I still struggle with, especially if I'm in the midst of like a PTSD trigger. It's one of my major symptoms is having like a depersonalization or a fragmentation where I don't feel like I'm in my body. I feel like I'm outside of it, watching myself live a life. And I can't look in the mirror and recognize myself. And that was really unsettling. But I think a big part of that was because I just didn't really know who I was anymore. And especially after she passed, so much of my identity was wrapped up in being her mom that I felt really lost. And I'm getting there. And I'm trying things, and I'm trying to keep moving forward, because I know that is what Hazel would want, because that's exactly how she lived. That no matter how bad she was feeling, no matter how sad she was, she didn't stop living. And that's been the biggest challenge for me, is a lot of times I feel guilty moving forward or finding joy. A lot of times I don't feel like getting out of bed. But I try to remind myself that that's not how Hazel lived, and that I need to remind myself of that, so then I can trust that she would be okay with me, you know, finding myself again. And I think she would be proud. At least I hope she would be proud. I can't speak for her. But I thank you guys for joining me along the way, and I'll keep you guys posted on what I keep doing, and hopefully it'll keep spreading Hazel's message. Do you guys have any other questions? I don't know if any other ones have come through. Let me see. Oh, thanks for joining, everybody. I see a few people on here. Yeah, so if you have any other questions, what else was I going to talk about today? Just quarantine. Oh, Jen, you've lost your girl. It's been 25 years. Wow. I'd love to hear from you in the comments kind of what that's been like, because I'm 2 years out, and some days it feels like a lifetime, and then other days it feels like I was just holding her. And so for me, I worry about the next 25 years. I have so much anxiety of living an entire life without Hazel. So I'd love to hear your perspective, if you don't mind sharing. If you do, totally fine. You can send me a private message later. But, oh, thank you, Ileana. I try to be a strong mom. Again, I think I got most of that strength from Hazel and from the kids. And I think, as you would know, being a cancer mom, people always ask, like, I don't know how you do it. I could never do that. How do you do it? And you just got to keep going. Like, you don't have a choice. It's your child. And when their life hangs in the balance, you just keep going. And Hazel was so good at keeping us talking. And I think that's been the biggest thing for me is just keep talking. Someone said how I look so fabulous during quarantine. Well, because I did my makeup and I did my hair today. But if you would have asked me yesterday, I was on day 3, no shower, didn't have makeup. I smelled really bad. Like even the kids were like, Mom, you need to go take a shower. But I knew I was going to come on live, and I thought, oh, what better time than to primp up and look nice and presentable for a live interview. But maybe next time I'll show up like I've been looking in quarantine, because this is certainly not the main face that my kids have been seeing these last 6 weeks. So, but thank you for saying that. It was so sweet. Jen, okay, I love what you're saying. You have to keep living. You have to keep going forward. I talk about my girl almost daily in some way. I feel I've been trying to do that too. Keeping her as close to our family as possible has been the best thing for us. As parents, we would do anything for our kids. Yes, Elise, I totally agree. Okay, Jen also asked, what do I do in my profession? Okay, so that kind of goes back to what I was talking about before. I don't have a profession. I've been a stay-at-home mom since I was 20 years old. We have 5 kids all together. I was 20 when I had my first son, and then I had my last child just 5.5 years ago, which was actually right after Hazel finished her very first treatment. She was cancer-free for the first time, and the baby was born 2 weeks later. And it was a whirlwind. And then 2 years of cancer-free life, which was beautiful. But then Hazel relapsed, and I just never really had time to kind of figure out where my passions were. I knew what they were in high school. I've kind of known what's always made me me, but I never had the opportunity to do that in the professional sense. And so now I'm trying to kind of figure that out, my youngest being in school. I love having a purpose, and whether I get paid for it or not, I don't know, but I have been finding, I did that podcast with my really good friend Gilly and Nicole called For Grits and Giggles, and that's one of the first times I felt most like me in so many years. I have also been writing a book. I've also been doing live interviews, and I did an online talk show, and I'm finding the more that I do those things, that's where my heart is communicating with other people. And so I hope that someday my profession can be something in that realm, whether it's hosting something or writing or doing stuff on social media. I love people like Brene Brown. She honestly is my biggest inspiration. Just being able to talk about the human experience. She talks a lot about guilt and shame, which is such a powerful topic. And she's written books, and she goes on speaking tours, and she does online stuff with the people that she's connected with. And I just love that. So that's what I'm trying to do. And you can watch me over at the Lauren Kelley on Instagram if you want to see more. And if you guys have any suggestions too, I would love to have it, because I don't have a profession yet. Yes, I love Brene too. Okay, I missed a couple comments here, so let me go back. How did your kids deal when Hazel passed? Yeah, I talked about that a little bit earlier. The beginning, oh, hi, Becky. In the beginning, it was a big shock, and every day is kind of different. And some days they'll have major grief, but then other days they know how to compartmentalize so much better than we adults do. We lose that ability for some reason, especially us ladies. But they can compartmentalize, and they can say, okay, yes, this thing happened, but I also have this thing and this thing and this thing to still live for. And they kind of have been showing me the way on how to grieve through all of this. But it's been hard. It's been really hard. And there are days we just really miss her. But I also think that as we keep moving forward and keep having her be a different part of our family than she was before, we're learning to heal. And so we're doing okay. It's been hard, but we're doing okay. So our kids are such a source of strength and perseverance. Yes, you're absolutely right. Okay, I have a couple other questions here. Keep them coming. This is really fun. I really like this. Okay, I think this is Krista with a 5 for an S. Do you want more kids? I definitely, honestly, I love children, and I love babies, and I miss my babies. If having a baby didn't mean another 18 years of child rearing, then I probably would have 20 children. Like I love children, but my body has taken a hit, and I'm tired. And raising 5 kids and now raising 4 with grief has been a major, major challenge for me. And I think that if another child were introduced right now, it would be very scary and very overwhelming. So I personally don't want to have more kids, but at the same time, if God were to give me another child, I would love it fully, and I would cherish a child. But we've taken some steps to not have more children. And because, again, my youngest is just now starting kindergarten, which is now giving me this ability to find out who I am, I don't know that I could do that if I was in the midst of young motherhood again. So to answer your question, if I want more kids, probably not. Probably not. Oh, thank you so much. Someone just said I'm a lovely person. Jen, you're so sweet. I love that. Okay, so what's another question? Oh, another one from Krista. I'm going to pull it up here. I know some people get recurrent messages from those who have passed, like pennies and butterflies. Do you have something personal like that? I'm trying to read all of it, but it's hard to because it cuts it off. Let me see. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I think you're asking if I have any signs from Hazel, like some people get pennies, some people get butterflies, things of that nature. And for me, butterflies have definitely been a sign from Hazel that's happened many times over since her passing. And one of the most incredible times was last year in Southern California, just leading up to the 1-year anniversary of her passing. We had the largest butterfly migration that we've ever had in like the history of California, and I think a lot of the United States. And it was one of those moments that I felt like it wasn't an accident, that it happened right there. And then this year, we didn't have the same amount of butterflies, but I kept looking for it because it's usually this time of year that butterflies come, and kind of nothing was showing up. And then on March 30th, the day that we were remembering her passing, we went to the cemetery, and then all of a sudden there were like hundreds of butterflies flying by, and it only lasted for that day. So it's moments like that. And I've had some other moments. There was one sign I've shared with a lot of you. This sign was the day that she passed away. We were driving in the car and I smelt her breath, and I didn't know what I was smelling, but it smelled just like her breath. And I started smelling in the car, and everyone in the car, my husband was there, and our two friends who were driving us home were there, and they said, we smelled it too, we just didn't want to say anything. And we all started crying, and then of course I tried to explain it away because that's how my brain works. I don't trust quickly, which makes me really mad because I want to trust in those signs so easily, but it's been such a challenge for me. But we smelled it 4 separate times, and it was remarkable. So I'm trying to hang on to those moments. Thanks for that question. All right, let's look in the other questions here. Okay. Ileana, another cancer mom, she said, during treatment, did your relationship between you and your husband struggle? And I think she has a follow-up question. And how did you handle it? Okay, so Ileana, that's such a good question. Yes, the answer is yes. During Hazel's treatment, it was a little bit easier because our family just had the response of like sticking together and getting through it. And I think that it wasn't until her passing that we all of a sudden realized, wow, the last 5 years, we haven't had a lot of time to focus on one another, and we grieve so differently. And I don't want to speak for him, and I don't want to overshare without talking to him first, but I have shared this before, that marriage is hard in general, but then throw trauma in it, throw like constant crisis living, because that's what childhood cancer is like. Like this COVID crisis you guys are feeling right now, that's exactly what it's like in childhood cancer, but for a prolonged period of time. It was for 5 years for our family, where we couldn't go out, we couldn't do the same things we always wanted to do. We had to constantly worry if Hazel had an infection and taking her temperature, and but then there was some really beautiful things that happened too, so it kind of balanced a lot of that life. But yeah, it took a toll on our marriage, absolutely, and it's something we're still working on. We're both in therapy, learning how to communicate better, because after losing a child, it's something you've never experienced before, so you don't know how to communicate to another person about how you're grieving and what you're feeling, and it can feel really isolating. So we're working on it. So I would say the way we handled it was by not stop talking and by getting into therapy, because honestly, that's been the biggest help for us. And we're not immune to having more problems or more struggles, because we are both still grieving and we're both still dealing with depression and anxiety through all of this. And so I know that I can't ever just rest and say, oh, I've got it figured out now, like everything's good. Like, no, marriage is going to continue to be hard work, and I'm going to continue to put my efforts in it and pray that God can walk us through it. Thank you for that question. And, Eliana, if you ever want to talk, like, please message me anytime, because I know this journey and this path is so hard. It's so hard to walk. You can't lean on something that's broken. I can see you love your family. Yes, Jenny, that has been like the biggest thing for me in losing Hazel, is realizing that my kids can't lean on me, my husband can't lean on me unless I've put that oxygen mask on. And I'm kind of a pathological accommodator. I tend to put everybody else's needs before mine, and I make myself really small to make sure everybody else is happy and comfortable. And I had to learn how to not do that anymore, but still be of service to my kids and to love them. And it's been a fine line that I've learned to walk, and I haven't quite balanced it yet. I'm trying. I'm really, really trying, because I have felt really broken for some time, and I've had to put boundaries up and say, look, I know that I've been a pillar before for you to lean on, but I've crumbled to the ground. So I can't have you all leaning on me at one time while I'm still trying to fix myself. So that's been a really, really big challenge. And I think I'm slowly building myself up again and being able to be there for my kids and for my husband and for my friends and for my family, but it's a long process. Somebody just asked what kind of therapy what should I look for? Me and my wife are struggling. That's such a good question. So, it depends on where you're at in your communication right now. If you're really, really good communicators, then I suggest you each get individual therapists and start working on yourselves, and then bring that together and communicate that to each other. But if you are struggling with your communication with your spouse, then I highly suggest doing a marriage therapy session, or multiple sessions, because that's what a therapist is there for, is to help facilitate communication when communication is breaking down. And thankfully, my husband and I, we talk a lot, and so we've been able to take the lessons we've learned. But we were even talking about this the other day, that I'd love to go to his therapist and have a couple session and vice versa, because right now, like, this crisis has triggered a lot of emotions for both of us, and because it feels so similar. And I think that it would benefit us to have that third-party sounding board to help us navigate some of that stuff, because it's so hard. And for our society to think you can do it alone is just crazy. So I really do hope you look into it. But you would just want to talk to a licensed marriage or family therapist, or you can see a psychologist who can help with medication and things like that if you feel like you need medication. Which, by the way, I've talked about this before. I've used antidepressants, and I actually just came off of them. I see them as a bridge for most people to get healing, but for some people, their brains are built in such a way that they will always need it because they have a deficiency in certain hormones and they can't regulate on their own. But for me, I was finding I don't need it consistently for regulation. I've seen it as a bridge from when I was in the deepest, darkest places after losing Hazel. I needed it to help pull me and bridge me to a better place of healing. And now I'm utilizing being out in nature, going to therapy several times a week. I go to a horse therapy session, actually, where I work with horses, and it's incredible because horses can feel your heartbeat from like 5 feet away. And so they know exactly where you are, and they will tell you whether or not your state of mind, your energy is welcome. And if it's not, then you've got to learn how to get yourself out of it. So it's been a really awesome tool for me. And medication was that bridge that got me from the deepest, darkest places to where I am now, where I'm balancing that stuff. I'm trying to eat well, I'm trying to exercise, I'm trying to go to therapy. Although there are periods of time where I struggle with all of it. Like right now, during this quarantine, I've been eating so poorly. I stress eat, I emotionally eat. Like after Hazel passed away, I poured all of my grief into cinnamon rolls, and I've gained like 20 pounds. And I'm still doing that now, and I haven't been exercising much, but I also know that those things have been so integral in my healing, and it could be for you too. So, get outside, breathe, be mindful of where you are, try therapy, try horse therapy, just keep talking, keep moving forward, because that's the thing that's pulling me through for sure. Okay, so let me pull up the other questions here. Thanks for being here, you guys, by the way. Bobby says, I just wanted to let you know how much I miss Hazel's adorable little videos and funny faces. Thank you, Bobby. I miss her funny faces too. And I've thought about this so much. I think one of the hardest things for me losing Hazel is realizing that the videos I have are limited. And one day I'm going to watch them exhaustively and know new memories are being made. And that's hard. That's hard to know that it's a finite amount. And I'm so thankful, though, that I have it. My grandmother lost a child to neuroblastoma in the 70s, and she has a very small collection of photographs of him, and that's it. I'm lucky enough I get to hear Hazel's voice anytime I want. So, but it doesn't mean I don't miss making new videos, and I do. I miss them terribly, and I miss her terribly. But I thank you for saying that you miss her too. Okay, what's this next question here? Oh, I think I got all of those. How did you handle it? So we did that one. All right, so again, there's a little question mark button down below, and if you want to ask a question, you can go ahead and ask a question. But what we were talking about before is just kind of what the journey of grief has been like. And honestly, all the stuff that I've been learning these past 2 years with Hazel has been so helpful in all areas of my life, and I think could be helpful to anybody, whether you're going through grief or not, because all life is struggle. All life has crisis and complications and sadness and pain, but all life also has joy and wonder and love and light, and those are the things that I'm learning to pay attention to be mindful of, to focus on, and to also honor the times where I am sad, where I am feeling down or depressed or scared or anxious, or dealing with grief or dealing with the stress of a new crisis like a diagnosis or this pandemic. And all of those tools that I've learned in the midst of the nitty-gritty stuff of grief has been so helpful to me. And I know so many other cancer moms have said the same thing, that the things that they've learned during cancer treatment and beyond has changed them and shaped them into better people. And I hope that, me being able to share that with you and being transparent can help you too. Because I know each and every one of you has a story. It may not even be close to the same story as mine, but you still have a story and you still have pain. And we all have to figure out as humans how to cope with that. And then how do we support one another in that journey with pain? And that's why I want to do this kind of stuff. Okay, we have a couple more questions coming in. Let's see. You mentioned someone in your family lost a child to cancer. Was it the same cancer that Hazel had? Okay, so that's a very good question. Yes. My grandmother on my father's side, she had a son, and in the 1970s, he was diagnosed and treated for neuroblastoma, which was the same cancer as Hazel, at Children's Hospital. So it's at the same hospital with the same cancer. We had Hazel tested for the hereditary form of neuroblastoma, but she did not test positive. But it does seem rather fishy to me. So we are going to look into some genetic testing and things like that. But Hazel's oncologist has assured me that she doesn't think that runs in our family. And also, it was a second marriage. She was married to my father's father for several years. They had 5 children. And then she remarried later and had a son with this new marriage. And that was a son who had cancer. So he was once removed from the gene pool, but he is still my great uncle, I guess, or just my uncle. But yes, he had neuroblastoma and Hazel had neuroblastoma. So it was the same cancer. And so I've looked to my grandma a lot because she knows exactly what it's like to lose a child to neuroblastoma. Okay, let's pull up here the next questions. Okay. So someone asked me if I am a Christian. So that's such a complicated question. My relationship with my faith has changed and shifted so much over time. If I believe, or what I believe though, is that yes, there is a creator. And yes, we have purpose and we have souls and there's more to life than what we just see. There's been too many things in my life that has shown me that there is more than just what's in front of us. But exactly what I believe about that right now, I'm still in the midst of struggling. I became a Christian when I was in high school, when I started dating somebody who brought me to church. And prior to that, I had no experience with faith. I was raised in a home where they said, we want you to figure that out for yourself. But I was a very anxious child, and I really feared what was to come. I feared death, so much to the point where I was having nightmares at night, and my parents would have to help me through that. And then when I went to church for the first time, I finally wasn't afraid anymore, and it just made so much sense to me. And I really like Jesus. Like, he's a really incredible human being, regardless of whether or not you believe he's the Son of God and the only way to heaven. He was a remarkable human being. And I think there is enough evidence for me to believe that he was connected to God, but I'm still in the midst of trying to figure out what I believe with that. And I think so much of my faith right now is wrapped up in my grief and my anger and my bitterness toward losing Hazel, that it's really hard to sift through all the different things. And there's so many different things out there that are telling you what you should and shouldn't believe. And honestly, I think the thing that I have come to the most with my faith is that my relationship with God is between me and God, and that's it. And your relationship with faith and with God is your relationship with faith and with God, and that's it. And I would hope that we can all have compassion for each other, knowing that we're all humans in this really, really messed up world that has a lot of beauty, but we're just all sitting here trying to figure it out, and it's really hard to figure it out when a lot of hard things happen to you in life. I mean, everybody's got a story. And so I don't profess to believe that I have to tell you what you should believe, but I will tell you that I hope you can find it within yourself to have faith in something, because life without purpose, life without faith, I know what that can feel like. And it's a hard place to be. But at the same time, there are some people that don't have faith and in something greater, and they find a lot of peace in that. And if that's something that they are working through, or they believe and that they have decided that feels the most comforting to their souls, then that's their journey. And so to answer your question, am I a Christian? It depends on how you define it. But I do believe that Hazel is somewhere, and I do believe that I will see her again. And that for me is all I'm hanging on to right now. It was hard. I was so into the good, and when I lost my son, I couldn't understand why, and still don't, but I try. I still do believe. I know I struggle with that too. I wasn't sure what I believed, and it's been a huge, huge thing for me these last 2 years. For a while, I was so angry I wasn't believing in anything, but that made me more angry and more scared and more hurt and more bitter. And so I'm finding now my way back to faith, but what that faith looks like and how that's going to shape me, I don't know yet. I'm still in that process. So thank you for asking that question. I love that. My relationship with God is between me and God. That's so true. Yes. Oh, Jen says her daughter also had neuroblastoma. I'm so sorry that we've lost our daughters to the same disease. I hate the word. I hate cancer, and I'm sorry that it took your Caitlin from you. But there is something about those neuroblastoma kids. They're something special, huh? All right, there's a couple other questions here. How did you handle your stress and fear in front of Hazel, and how did you keep her spirits up? Oh, that is such a good question. I tried to shield her from my major meltdowns because I didn't want to scare her, but at the same time, I wanted to be honest about the fact that this is hard, because if I didn't, then I didn't validate for her that it was hard. You know, if I didn't acknowledge how hard it was for her and for me, then I feel like she probably would have held it in her heart and not spoken about how hard it was for her. And I also think the more we spoke about it, the less power it had. But I still had major stress and major fear. And there were days where the kids knew that mom is struggling and she's probably not going to do much today or get out of her pajamas or get out of bed. And Hazel understood that, but I always tried to make sure that she knew it had nothing to do with her and it had everything to do with cancer and the separation that it put on our family. And I think she did such a good job pulling me out of those spaces anyway, not on purpose, because I don't think she ever felt responsible for that, but like she just had this way about her that you couldn't not smile when you were around her. So even in the hospital, on the hardest of days, she'd still find time to be a kid and she'd still find time to smile. And I think that's what helped balance that stress and that fear that I had. And how did I keep her spirits up? We just talked a lot, and we talked about what bravery means. And I used to tell Hazel that bravery doesn't mean you're not scared. Bravery just means you do something even though you're scared. And I think that gave her a lot of comfort and knowing, you know what, it's okay that I'm scared right now. And I'm going to cry and I'm going to be mad or I'm going to pull away in fear, but doesn't mean that has to control me. And so she would be afraid of shots, but then she would still do it. And she would go, I'm brave, because she knew that she was afraid and she would do it anyway. When we were in the hospital, honestly, I would bring a huge bag of like toys and books and dress up clothes, things from home. We made a lot of videos. Like she loved making videos and stuff. And she loved doing live videos like this. She loved talking to all of you. But honestly, she was just the best at keeping her own spirits up and encouraging me to do the same. So thanks for that question. That was a really good question. Okay, I have a couple more here. Let's see. Oops. It's so hard to see the good. Yes. Beautiful explanation. Thank you. She could put a smile on anyone's face, Elise. Yes, she was really good at that, and I miss her silly faces. Lindsay loves to make silly faces for her and play tag. Yeah, I know. She was just so good at keeping all of our spirits up. She just led by example, and I think I didn't have to do a whole lot to keep her spirits up. So I think that I'm trying to think back to some of the other things. I mean, honestly, it was just we talked a lot, and she would ask really deep questions about life and about how your body works, about heaven. And one time she said that she's not afraid to die anymore because she knew, what was to come. And I didn't know how she came to that conclusion. We had talked about it a lot, but like she decided for herself that she believed it wholeheartedly and she wasn't afraid anymore. So there was just a lot of that in her. We played a lot of tea parties in the hospital too. That was another big one. We did a lot of FaceTime with friends and family. I think that helped a lot. Staying connected to her siblings was one of the biggest things to keep her spirits up. Somebody asked what my professional Instagram is. So yeah, I talked about this earlier if you're just joining us. I'm doing so much in my own personal journey with figuring out who I am and kind of what my purpose is in this world. And if you want to follow along, it's at the Lauren Kelley, Kelley. So you can I have a link up above. It says page run by at the Lauren Kelley. You can click that and follow if you'd like. Okay, I remember when you went to the cafe, I think it was, and she started a silly video. Oh, Elise, I know exactly what you're talking about. So I have a couple videos that Hazel used to do where I would go down to get food for us and I'd come back and I'd see on my phone or on the iPad that she took a video of like the room and she'd be like, hey guys, it's Hazel. So this is my hospital room and that's my nurse and that's my pole and this is my chemo. And then she'd turn around and make silly faces and she just, man, I miss that girl so much. Oh, thanks for reminding me of that one, Elise. Thank you for saying, someone said I'm such a great advocate for children with cancer and for Hazel. Thank you. And that's why I still want to keep her pages going. I want to keep advocating for kids like her, but I also want to keep advocating for the journey that it is for parents and the mental health toll that it takes. And I hope that those of you that are watching can take some of that away from this page and from Hazel's legacy. Oh, thank you so much. I believe she's watching down on us and loving us too. If you have more questions, just in that button down below, you can add a question. It's hard to keep up with all of the comments. Okay, oh, here's another question that just popped up. It says, do you still have Hazel's room set up as she left it? So, good question. No, the answer is no, I don't, because we have other children. She shared a room with two sisters, and her younger sister Zoe was in a toddler bed at that time that Hazel passed away, but now that she's bigger, she's too big for that, so she moved into Hazel's bed. And sorry, I meant how. I figured that's why I didn't say ho, but you know, I thought it would be a good laugh for everybody. But yeah, so we did have to switch it around a little bit, and at first it was really hard because I kind of wanted to keep everything the same as proof of her life, but I also felt every time I went in to say goodnight to my other girls, it just broke my heart seeing somebody else in Hazel's bed. So we did decide to shift it around. We moved the beds. They were bunk beds before. We took them apart and made them different. And I took all of Hazel's special things and I put them here in my office. This is like my special Hazel office. And I've got a whole bookshelf full of her special things, including like a lock of her hair, her shoes, you know, her little treasures she kept in her drawer. And I have a whole shelf set up. I can show it to you guys, or I have a picture, I think, down below. But I have the phone set up, so if I move it, I'm afraid I won't be able to get it back. But yeah, so her room is not the same, especially because we have two other girls that are living in it, but also because for me, that's what helped me process my grief. But every parent is different. And so I don't ever want to speak and saying that somebody else should do it the same way that I did. So, okay, let's see. How have you handled Hazel's goodbye? So I know we've been on for a while, by the way. It's been 50 minutes, so I think I'm just going to take a couple more questions, and then I got to go with the kids. Okay. How did you handle... Well, it says how in the comments, but she wrote who on the question. So how did we handle Hazel's goodbye? So thank you for that question. As many of you probably remember, Hazel's goodbye was beautiful, emotional, devastating, wonderful, you know, all of the things you could possibly think about when somebody passes away. That's what it was when Hazel left, because she was talking to us, albeit she was, you know, slipping in and out of sleep, but she was talking to us until the very last second. And I think for my brain, it was really, really hard to accept that she was gone, because one minute she was talking to me and then the next minute she wasn't. And I think that's been one of the hardest things for my brain to wrap itself around, because she was talking to me and it hurt so badly that I couldn't talk to her anymore, and that, you know, I had to kiss her cheek for the last time. And I remember we smelled her a whole lot. We rubbed her cheeks a lot. I looked at her fingernails a lot. But I remember the moment she said goodbye. Like, she asked if she was dying, and we said yes. And she said she was a little scared, and we said it's okay to be scared, just like I've always told her that it's okay to be scared, because being brave is doing the thing anyway, even though you're scared. And she said she was a little scared, and sorry. And I was holding her in my arms, and Erin was holding her hands, and I said, it's okay to be scared, but we've got you, and God is waiting for you, and you're not going to have cancer anymore, and you're not going to have back pain anymore. And she took a deep breath and had a little smile, and then she went, bye, and then she stopped. Honestly, I'm so thankful, because that's one of the most beautiful goodbyes I have heard in my entire life, and I'm not surprised that that's how Hazel did it, because that's how Hazel is. And, but handling it is a whole other question. Like, you asked, how did I handle it? And I'm still not handling it. I'm trying, but it was so hard. It was so hard that day, but it was also so peaceful and so beautiful. And so I'm holding on to that and trying to trust that she went and she said goodbye, and she knew what she was doing and what she was ready for. She was ready to be cancer-free. She was ready to be with God, and I wasn't ready, and I'm still not ready. So I'm learning how to process it, and I'm learning how to accept that as our reality for our family, and part of that has been through therapy and through conversation and through writing. And the more I'm learning to accept it, the more that I'm, you know, it's less painful looking back and more beautiful, if that makes sense. But It's hard. It's hard either way. Oh, yes, someone said, so Hazel style, yes. Somebody else asked, have we heard any more information from the research on Hazel's cancer that you sent in? I'm not sure if you're referring to like after, because we did give samples of Hazel's tumors after she passed to continue on in research. And I did hear from her oncologist that from one of the samples, a germline did in fact grow, and so they're still able to use it for research and like to this day. And I don't know exactly what research is being done with it. That's a good question I'd like to follow up on. But she is still helping people. Sometimes I struggle thinking that damn tumor is still alive and she isn't. But at the same time, it was a part of her, and she's still helping people because of it. And I'm so thankful that her cancer and her life was not in vain, and that she's going to be able to help children for generations to come. Okay, let's see. I think there was another question. Okay, one more question. Oh, from Elise, it's a good one. Can you share the story on how she became known as the pizza girl? So that's another really good one. Yeah, so if you're newer and you see it says like lessons from a pizza girl, and you see there's stuff about sending pizza and all sorts of things. So Hazel, as many of you know from the videos and things that I've said about her, like she loved connecting to people, and she's the type of person that like you walk into a room and she wouldn't let you ignore her, because she was just so enigmatic and charming and wonderful that like you just wanted to be around her. And she never forced herself on anybody. You just couldn't ignore her because she was amazing. And when she was 2, we were in the hospital, and our window overlooked a grocery store parking lot next door, and she was trying to wave to everybody down below, but they're not looking up, they're looking straight at the grocery shop, like ready to get their food. And so Hazel was really bummed because nobody was saying hi. And I said, well, why don't we put a sign in the window, and then they'll look up. And my mom had told me that when she was in the hospital, when she was younger, there was a card given to her, and it opened up into a big sign that said, send pizza, room blank. And I said, that is the best idea. So we got some medical tape, and we wrote the phrase, send pizza, room 4112 on her hospital room window. And she didn't really think anything of it. We just thought people would like wave, and maybe someone would send one pizza or something like that. But 3 days went by and nothing happened except people waving and smiling. People got such a kick out of it. But then I guess somebody in the parking lot took a photo and then posted it on reddit.com, and it became the #1 story almost instantly. It went viral, and thousands and thousands of people started coming to the Facebook page and to the blog and starting to support our family. And we got 250 pizzas sent from all over. Like, people were calling from other states. I even think we might have gotten one call out of the country. They were calling to local pizza chains around Children's Hospital Los Angeles, and they sent 250 pizzas that day. And we fed like the whole hospital, and everybody in the hospital grew to know her and love her, and she was their little pizza girl. And because of that, it was kind of this opportunity that we had to share her story, but also share so many other kids' stories and the realities of childhood cancer and the realities of grief and sadness. And it looks like we only have about a minute remaining. We have a time limit on these things. So, but that is the story of how Hazel became the pizza girl, and how I am learning lessons from her every single day. So again, thanks for joining us. Next Friday at 4 o'clock, head on over to @TheLaurenKelley. I think I'm going to keep doing the interviews over there because not all of them pertain to childhood cancer, and I don't want to cross any boundaries on this page. So head over to @TheLaurenKelley on Instagram, and Fridays at 4 we're going to do Instagram live interviews, and maybe we'll do another Q&A like this again because this was really nice. I liked connecting with all of you. All right, thank you guys so much, and we hope you have a really good day and stay safe during this crisis and keep taking care of yourself. All right, bye-bye.